We would like to acknowledge that this podcast was recorded, produced, and created within the territory of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq. Our relationship and our privilege to live on this territory was agreed upon in the Peace and Friendship Treaties of 1752. Because of this treaty relationship, it is to be acknowledged that we are all treaty people and have a responsibility to respect this territory.
If you're on Instagram and love food, chances are you're one of Andy Hay's 1.4 million followers on Instagram. Known for his mouth-watering recipes and infectious enthusiasm, Andy has taken the culinary world by storm through his popular Instagram account and his website, The East Coast Kitchen. From competing as a finalist on MasterChef Canada to building a thriving online community, Andy's journey from tech sales professional to culinary influencer is nothing short of inspirational. His content celebrates the rich flavors of East Coast cuisine, while his creativity and authenticity have made him a favorite among foodies everywhere. But what you might not know is that Andy's story began right here at Mount Allison. Today, we'll dive into his journey, explore the intersection of creativity and food, and discover how his experiences at Mount Allison shaped the person and the chef he is today. Andy, welcome to When Ducks Leave the Pond.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks
Yay!
for having me.
Now, listen, I know the answer to this question, so I'm curious to see what version of this story I'm going to get. But Andy, essentially, your journey into the culinary world, it's
Sure.
fascinating. But let's go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up choosing Mount Allison for your university experience? What drew you to Sackville? How did your time at Mount A shape you as a person?
Yeah, so I like most great stories, it begins with a girl. Actually, that's what brought me to Mount Allison. My
Okay, good. You're going to tell that version of the story. Good. I'm glad.
No, I actually did. I made the silly mistake when I was dating my girlfriend at the time in high school, who, spoiler alert, is now my wife. And we had dated all through high school. She was going to Mount A. She was like the brains of the couple for sure. She got a scholarship to Mount A, and I think we were both like, well, we just don't want to follow each other. So I ended up doing. We can beep this out. I did 1 year at St. FX, which I did not enjoy at all. But I would go up and visit my girlfriend at the time, and it was so fun. I remember going up specifically for the Halloween party that was at. I can't even remember which one it was. It might have been at Bennett at the time.
I
And
think it was a Bennett. Yeah.
yeah, and I met her friends. Quickly became my friend. They're still all my best friends now. And I still remember a moment of people being like, Andy, hey, go. I was Andrew Hay at the time. Andrew Hay, go to Mount A, chanting, and that was it. So I swallowed my pride and followed my girlfriend.
Aw. Well, you know what? We all have an OG story for Mount A, and that's a good one. That's not
Yeah,
a
it was a
bad one
great
at
one.
all.
It was one of the best decisions of my life.
Aw, wonderful. Listen, this is so weird. Can you imagine you graduated in 2008, and imagine being outside the chapel, you run into me, the alumni director, and I say to you, "Hey, Andrew Hay, uh, it's 2008. You're going to have a career on a platform that hasn't been invented yet,
Crazy.
called Instagram, and you're going to be an influencer." I don't even know if influencer existed as a concept in 2008.
Yeah.
What would you have said to me?
I don't think I would have understood. I mean, I wouldn't have understood anything. I all I wanted to do at the time was get rich. When I was leaving Mount A, that was my number one priority, was just become an entrepreneur was the dream, and just try to get rich. That was all that was going through my head at the time. So that probably would have been my question
What
if
was your major?
I was business.
There you go, commerce.
So at the
Excellent.
time, it was like Facebook was very much just emerging. So you have the movies coming out that are celebrating the young entrepreneurs, and that's all I wanted to do at that time. But also didn't have any guts to actually go and start anything. I just liked the idea of it. So I would have been excited and relieved, because I think I had a lot of anxiety about leaving Mount A and what would come, because I was still getting to know myself at the time, and I just had no idea what the future would hold. But I was excited about it, but just had no idea what it was going to look like at all.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, you left Mount A.
Hmm.
Jessica, obviously, you got married somewhere along the way,
Hmm.
and but you had a long career as a tech sales professional.
Hmm.
Now, your journey from tech sales professional to a culinary content creator, I mean, it's really inspiring. Can you share what sparked your passion for cooking and what motivated you to make such a significant career change? I
Yeah.
mean, transitioning from a corporate career to a culinary world, uh, I'm sure it had a lot of challenges.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of these things that I knew. So I actually my dad owned an insurance company. So right out of school, I right out of Mount A, I went in and became an insurance underwriter, which definitely wasn't for me. I'm not strong at mathematical skills. So I didn't really fit there. And then I was very interested in like the social media world and tech world. So I ended up working in a company called Salesforce.com, which is a enormous company. There was an East Coast company that started called Radian 6 that got purchased by Salesforce. So I worked there for like 8 or so years. So that was a really interesting time, but it just never really felt authentically me. I had a real hard time where I was pretty good at it, but I just never felt like it was truly me. I always felt like quite uncomfortable in the social situations doing it. Like I was having to talk to clients, which I just didn't, again, I was okay at it, but I just never felt that comfortable. So my wife and I, right before I started Salesforce, she was wrapping in law school, finishing that up, and we ended up doing a 6 month trip to Southeast Asia. So we went to Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Singapore, and that's where like food really changed for me. Like I was definitely into food. Food media was really started. So you have like Inside the Mind of a Chef, Chef's Table, Master Chef, Gordon Ramsay. Like I was consuming this and really loving it. But it was in Thailand. We had arrived and we were in Bangkok. It was one of the first weeks that we were there. We are just starting the tour. And I remember obviously eating the food was fantastic. I was trying things that I never tried. But what really got me, I keep going back to this moment a lot, is the cooking. So in Thailand, you have a lot of street food, a lot of these street carts where individuals will get really good at one dish and they will bang that dish out for lineups of people. And I just got fascinated by watching them. So like the fire, the smoke, the smells, and the movement of the cooking really captured me. So I played sports the whole way up. I played rugby at Mount A, played hockey growing up, golf a lot. So I love the physicality of really anything. So I that really caught me being like, wow, this is like athletic. Watching them cook, like they're moving, they're swaying, there's flames, the wok is moving, things are just flying all over the place. So I think that captured my interest on the cooking side of things, where I'd always been like a foodie. I like to eat, but that was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to cook.
Well, one of the things you talk about is the influence of your mother's Newfoundland roots
Yes.
on your cooking.
Yeah.
So, what about that do you bring forward while bringing all these other kind of, what you experienced when you were traveling
Yeah.
with Jessica?
Yeah, so my mom and her whole family are all from Newfoundland, from Bonavista Bay, in Brookfield, and they are lovely cooks. It's all approachable. It's all down home cooking. It's fill you up, make you feel good. I think that there's a lot of nostalgia in the style of food that they're cooking. It's cooking meals that their mothers used to cook in the
Yeah.
same way, and it's just like very simple food, very approachable. And it's just like, again, this is a term that's used a lot in the food world, but it's just made with love. So my mom, I remember her making like molasses baked beans, Newfoundland Toutons, freshly baked bread. A lot of it, we'd eat a lot of homemade meals. It wasn't all that. We definitely had our fair share of like chicken fingers because she
Of
was
course.
working
Yep.
full time as a nurse. But it was always those meals that were like they just felt so homey. And yeah, so I try to bring that forward in what I do now. I find the nostalgia piece of it and just connecting with place really interesting with food. So it just makes me feel good. It makes bring people back to those memories that I
Hmm.
think food can do, and I just love that part of it. So I try to incorporate that and make everything approachable and feel like you can do it at home and cook with love, and then sprinkle in different flavors and techniques when I can.
It's funny, you hit it right on the. You've really described well what happened with us at our office a few months ago. We put up kind of a post about Jennings Hall
Yeah.
and the food, someone's food that they really enjoyed, or a recipe, because we all remember, if you went to Mount at a certain time, you remember Thursday night turkey tetrazzini, and you
Oh yeah.
remember, all those things. That post, Andy, went completely viral on us.
It's so
People
fun.
were commenting on and on and on and on about
Yeah.
this recipe and that recipe. So, one of the things that I know a lot of the folks listening who are, maybe still at Mount A or a bit younger, who are really fascinated and really looking into the what you can accomplish career wise using social media.
Mhm.
Your Instagram account
Mhm.
has garnished, as I mentioned, substantial following. What strategies, if you had, did you employ to build such an engaged community, and how do you balance authenticity, which you just spoke about, with the demands of being a social media influencer? Because it takes time, right?
It definitely takes time. So I'll tackle that from a few different ways. So um, the biggest thing is it takes time. It's just a nonstop pursuit that you just have to keep on showing up and doing the work. Whether this is, and that's the same whether you're doing this for Instagram, whether you're doing that for any business you want to do at the gym. It's just all about consistency. That's what I've seen in my business. It's just I've been making 6 videos a week for the last 4 years nonstop. We just don't stop. Some work, some don't, and that's okay. It's just showing up and consistently putting in the work. I think a big reason why I guess I always say we because I've got a team that helps me with the videos and stuff, is we really try to just be authentic. It's just I try to be myself as much as possible, bring good energy, keep things light, bubbly. There's enough things online that make people feel anxious and sad and angry. So I just try to be a bright light as much as I can. It's just easy breezy. I'm just trying to help you cook dinner and make it a little bit easier. So that's a big thing for what I think people like, is just get attracted by the excitement, the love of food, keeping it easy, keeping it breezy, keeping it fun. I like the entertainment side of things, and I think that really works. And oftentimes, I think what if there's anything that I'm really, really good at when it comes to like the business that we built, is I think I have a really strong understanding of who my audience is. So that's key. That's been absolutely crucial. Is I know that the people that are following me are women between that's 90% women between the ages of 40 and 60. And I think constantly of like, what are the what are they wanting for dinner? What are they wanting this weekend? Who are they baking for? Is it their teenage kids? Is it their grandkids? Who is it? What do they want? I obsess over this and I think about it a lot. So knowing who that person is that you're creating content for is super, super key. And I think that that's been something that I think I'm really good at. It's even like on a Wednesday. If it's Wednesday and like I'm thinking about like, oh, it's raining in Atlantic Canada, it's cold. Like I think I know what people will want that day. So that's been really fun. I think just keeping it fun, keeping it authentic, making the recipes very approachable. It's like I have obviously been cooking for a profession now for the better part of 8 years. But I started just as a home cook. I just like cooking. I feel like there's a lot of people out there now that just love getting in the kitchen and cooking. So I just want to encourage people, just being like, it's fun. Get in the kitchen. It's empowering. You can make your own food. You can make people happy. You can do it. Anybody can do it. If I figured it out, you can absolutely do it. I never used to be able to cook at all. So it's just making it approachable, making it fun. And I think that that's helped me get to where I am, and I hope that's part of my brand of where I go to too, is just keeping things fun, curious, approachable, entertaining.
You're The fact that you were a finalist on MasterChef Canada, and I remember we put it on our social media and we had people vote for you and
Yeah.
asked folks to vote for you. It must have been a transformative experience, Andy. I mean, how did participating in that show influence your culinary style, which was really just evolving into something new back then,
Yeah.
and your approach to food?
So yeah, it totally changed my life. I actually was on two seasons. So I was on season five, which was filmed back in 2018 or 17. I can't even remember. And then I was on the All-Star season in 2020. Very different experiences, but it totally changed my life. I went on there as a joke. I was just like, this would be cool. We would have friends over prior to me ever applying. We would have viewing parties. So I still remember the season that Mary Berg won. We had a house full of people at our place watching it, and we were cheering. And then it came like, "Do you think you could be the next Master Chef?" And we are like, "Maybe, sure, why not?" So I just threw my name in the hat, and I kind of brought good energy and was just excitable and used some of my sales skills where I was like, I'm comfortable
Mhm.
speaking. And I got on, and it was truly, truly transformational. It was totally terrifying. Like the first season, I really didn't know what I was doing, and uh, you just kind of put yourself in these awkward situations that make you scared, and you just see what you're made of and see if you can handle it. So I loved it. The first season was something that uh, was terrifying, but then you get out of it and you're like, oh wow, I survived. Let's see what I can make of this. So that was fun to try to push the pace when I got out, started a catering company and started just developing my skills and being like, okay, I work in food now. Second season, All Stars was very different. It was the height of the pandemic. Um, you're competing against people that really know what they're doing. You've people that have started their own restaurant and have been cooking for 5 years, but I felt like my skills were much better, so I had much more confidence in my ability. And again, just went for it. So it was a very, very scary experience, but it was worth it. Sometimes you just got to throw yourself in the deep end and
Yep.
just try to figure it out.
Yep. Well, they always
Yeah.
say the scariest moment is when you start,
Yeah,
and after
absolutely.
that, you just get it.
That's
Now,
it.
digging a bit more into the business aspect,
Hmm.
um, as a culinary influencer, you've had the opportunity to collaborate with various brands.
Hmm.
How do you choose partnerships with that align with your personal brand, and what advice would you give someone about developing partnerships as you get into whatever field or whatever business you're in?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, candidly, you just take what you can get. You can try to get as much alignment as possible, but if it's in the beginning, again, I was trying to turn this into a business and had no idea what that would look like. I'm lucky because I'm in a bit of a niche. I'm in food that most food companies will align with what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make mealtime easier for people at home. So it started off with a lot of Canadian companies, big consumer packaged goods companies, grocery stores, anything targeted at within the food realm. Kind of was a fit for me, and that's changed now. Like there's a lot more factors that will come into it now, where it's like, okay, would I actually use this? I have to think about it now because I've developed quote unquote influence that I'm like, do I want to be pushing this? Um, so
Yep.
it's a lot of it just is like, is this something that my audience would buy at the grocery store? Yeah, it is. Okay, then yeah, I think that makes sense. And it's just kind of taking the quote unquote influence seriously and not slinging something that you just can't sleep at night. And that's become a luxury now is as I've gotten bigger, I can say no because more opportunities come. But in the beginning, it was more so like, okay, if you're gonna give me this money to do this on my channel, I got to make it work. So
That's
yeah, I
right.
think it's just trying to remain authentic to yourself and uh and just make sure that it makes sense for the customer that you're trying to attract as well.
Oh, that's very good advice. Your content often features East Coast inspired recipes, obviously. Can you share with us a favorite recipe that holds special significance for you, and what makes it stand out among others?
So I was thinking about this one. So I have loads. I've got hundreds and hundreds of recipes that some of them have gone viral, which is really great. Like some of them had like 30 million views. But the ones that I get the most fired up on is when people bake, specifically bread, because there's something so magical when someone bakes a loaf of bread. It's like alchemy. And they just feel so proud of themselves. So there's one of these no knead breads that is super simple to make, but it makes a very, very, very impressive loaf of bread. So when people make that one, it makes me really happy because I know what it's like to bake that first loaf of bread, and you're like, oh my God, I'm a baker now. Like I'm a famous French baker now after making that one. So that one always stands out. And another one in our household that we love is my wife's favorite is the tea biscuit cinnamon rolls. I
Mm,
love them. They're super nostalgic. They're all over the East Coast. Myself and my daughters make them every Christmas Eve, and we have them on Christmas morning. So we're a big
yeah.
cinnamon bun house. My kids just had their first bake sale on outside of our house, and so sold cinnamon buns. I like them so much. I actually have a cinnamon bun tattoo on my arm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, also, I mean, we talk about social media. Look, it's yes, it's engaging. Yes, it's authentic, but it's when you have a diverse online audience, it can be both rewarding and demanding.
Yep.
How do you handle feedback and criticism on social media? And what impact does that audience interaction have on your content creation?
So a lot of it, this has changed over the years. Like in the beginning, I would be very much in there looking at the comments, watching the views, and reacting in real time. Like, what are people saying? What do they think? And I would analyze that a lot early days. And now I honestly don't look at all. I don't look at the comments. I don't look at the views. I don't
Oh,
look at
good for
anything.
you.
I'll rarely check in. I have a team that will answer some of the questions. But I found what I was struggling with is when you're creating like performance-based content where the goal here is when we're creating content, I want to get views on every single video that we put out. And I was finding that if I would put out a video and it wouldn't get the views that I thought it would, I would put I would attach my self-worth or self-value or my perceived success to the number of views. And so you could be like going on a loop because one of the videos you thought would do well wasn't, or you have one week where it's in the middle of the summer and no one's on their phone and you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, there it is. My 15 minutes is done. Like it's all over." So I find now I do detach from it a lot. I still get my the Instagram messages coming in. So you get some people that are just I find the one that drives me the most nuts is if people have comments around the website or they comment that there's advertising on the website. And so I do get frustrated there because I find some people will forget that there's people on the other side of their messages. And I will get these very mean, very snarky messages telling me that I shouldn't have advertising or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And my response is like, well, this is a free, like I'm giving it to you for free. I'm not asking for anything.
Mhm.
I have to do certain commerce here in order for this to make sense for me to do. So I find that piece gets me fired up, but I try not to take too much weight into it. I think I am glad. I think of this often. Like I'm very happy. Like I got onto the first season of MasterChef when I think I was 32 or 33 and like things started kind of rolling a little bit more kind of at 36 and I'm 38 now and it's like picking up and I have two little girls who don't care at all about my online persona. They do not care. So I'm glad that everything that's happened has happened at this stage of life because it makes it a lot easier to not buy into any of it or not really take it too seriously. So yeah, it's a game though. There
Yeah.
there are comments that rattle you, but I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty self-assured in myself and who I am that I don't
Ch
take too much stock into
children
it.
certainly do make us take ourselves a lot less seriously, don't
Yeah, they're
they?
quite
They have a
silly.
way of do that.
Yeah, they do.
Um, the COVID-19 pandemic led to your quarantine kitchen series,
Yeah,
which resonated with many people. How
yeah.
did that initiative come about? And what did you learn from connecting with your audience during such an unprecedented time? I mean, all we were doing was looking.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable time. Like for my business, it was an inflection point for my whole career, really, those early days of COVID. So so at that time, I had a catering company on the East Coast, at least in Halifax, like we were doing cool stuff. It was myself and one of my sous chef essentially, and we were doing really cool events. We were doing really interesting stuff. I was kind of making a name myself for like in the culinary space locally. I had just got brought in on a partnership to buy a restaurant 45 days before the pandemic hit. I'm
Oh,
not great there. And
Andy.
actually, long story short here, not going into the details, that partnership was basically ended on day two of the pandemic itself. So I was sitting there 2 days into the pandemic, with uncertainty around, do I even own my catering company anymore? What am I going to do? Like, is catering going to come back? I had no idea what everything was going to look like. So I just kind of like, as a joke, did what I normally would do and started cooking. So I turned my phone, I grabbed my phone and I did selfie mode. I was like, how are we doing, folks? Welcome to Andy or the East Coast Quarantine Kitchen, episode one. And I just cooked, I think it was a gnocchi dish. And people started following, and I did the next day and the next day, and people started being like, "This is amazing! I love it!" And I was getting going on Zoom calls with my friends, being like, "Yeah, we watched it with our kids. My parents' friends are telling them," and I just saw this like organic community start to build around making these recipes and just kind of being honest with the cooking, showing mistakes, and just having fun and entertaining people. And it really started to grow, and it really laid the foundation for my following. I think it was just like, okay, this is what people like. They want
Yeah.
approachable, they want to see mistakes, they want to see my family, they want to see um, something real. So that it really changed. It changed everything for me. So I kind of committed to myself early on, being like, I'm going to do this for 100 days straight. I don't know how long we're going to be in quarantine, but I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to do 100 days. And that was one of the most powerful things I've ever done in my entire life. I'd never stuck to something and did it consistently every single day, no matter what. I'd never done it. And that changed something in my brain, just the idea of doing something consistently to achieve a goal. It was liberating. It just showed me that you can do it, and that's kind of, if you want to get to that next level, whatever that is, you're gonna have to be consistent and show up and do the work. And so it was amazing. I ended up starting doing like live cook-alongs on Friday nights because it was like, we can't do anything anymore. So this way I would be like, I would go live on Instagram. I would have all the lights set up and I would send out the recipes in advance and people would cook along with me. We'd get like almost 1,000 people on there cooking with their family across the country, around the world. So it was really, really amazing. It gave me the confidence to be like, okay, like I'm gonna lay down the catering company and I'm gonna go in on this digital space. Mind you, I had about 10 years of experience in social media and in tech. So I was like, okay, this is actually where my advantage lies. Like this, when I look at other chefs, I always felt like an imposter because I started late and was untrained, just doing my own thing. But here I was like, oh, like I actually have the advantage now in this space. So it really just changed the game for me, and I just committed to it and put my foot on the gas after the quarantine kitchen and haven't really looked back.
Well, throughout the pandemic, I kept saying, I just need to find, I kept telling people, look at the gifts of COVID. There are gifts along
Yes.
the way, right? And obviously, for me, my personal gift was that I didn't have to dig out change uh, between the seats of my car to pay for the COVID pass. I never had
Yes.
that $4, right? And I
Yep.
get my hand stuck. And now we have tap. Thank you,
Yep.
COVID. So all
Exactly.
those little things. But for you, it was a much
Yeah.
more impactful gift. I'm really, it's a really great story to hear. Listen,
Yeah.
looking ahead, Andy, what's your aspiration for Andy's East Coast Kitchen? Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations that you're excited or able to share with us?
Yeah, there's a lot of it is, I think about this a lot. So a lot of it is just expanding the reach. That's something I focus on a lot. As the reach expands, opportunity expands. So I think the ones in the midterm for me that I'm really focused on is getting more people following me on Instagram, building out my website more, the East Coast Kitchen. That gets people from around the world there. We got about a 500,000 people that are there consistently every single month, which is awesome. That's something that we really focused on. I would love to get more contributors from the East Coast, kind of putting their recipes onto the East Coast Kitchen, which I think would be really exciting. I'm writing a cookbook, which is amazing. I can't wait.
Ooh.
I hope to have a TV show. That's something that I really, really want and actively pursuing. Um, yeah, so those are the big ones. I don't lack ambition, for better or worse. So always it's always looking forward and just trying to do it right and not take anything that I have for granted, but just keep on pushing it. I find that what's been fun in this career that I've been in is that I always feel that it could all go away in an instant. And
Yeah.
it's all been a fun ride either way. So I try to keep the mentality of just swing for the fences. why not? Like just swing for it. You
Why
never know what's
not?
going to happen. And like I've been given the opportunity to be in this space and get some eyeballs on me. So why not just swing for it? Who it doesn't matter. If it goes away, it goes away. I'll still be dad to my kids, but it's just been fun. So that's the mentality that I have moving forward. But more content, more TV, more travel, and more delicious food.
That I don't think it's going to go away in one form or other. Who knows? Maybe we're having this conversation just like we would have had in 2008 and Instagram. Something hasn't been
Exactly.
established yet, and you're going to master that too.
Exactly.
As we come to the end of our conversation, Andy, I did want to ask you, like looking back, how do you think your experiences at Mount Allison, whether they were in the classrooms, in the community, or with the people you met, or with Jessica, how did that help prepare you for your unique career as a culinary influencer? Are there lessons and memories from Mount Allison that continue to inspire you as in your work every day?
Yeah, I think for me it's the people. That when I keep thinking about the my time there, I can go to stories and kind of the education side of things, but my best friends to date and the people that are in my inner circle that I trust are all friends that I met at Mount Allison. And I think that what I appreciate about their friendships is probably something that we all learned at Mount A is I feel very fortunate to have a group of friends and a lot of the my close friends are my male buddies. We just have a lot of real conversations, which I think we get to develop in the liberal arts school education that we have, where we could be having deep talks about politics, going into classical ancient theory to geography to geopolitics to cooking to love, whatever. So I feel like the friendship that we have and our ability to explore and critical think, I think a lot of it comes back to our time at Mount A. I also think that there's something very special about Sackville as a place. Uh, so I would have been there. I did 3 years, and it's a formative time. I was there from basically 19 to 22. I think you're forming your ideas. Um, and I think it's a place that you can kind of get in a very good way bubble wrapped, where you can go and you're in a very safe place to explore, to be yourself, to make mistakes, to meet people that you might not otherwise meet and do it in a safe way. Um,
There's nothing quite like that Sackville bubble.
There's not. And by the end, I found I was scratching to get out of it, but it is a really great place to grow up. And I think that having the smallness of the town gives you a level of confidence and preparation for you to step out into the world and feel ready. So I feel like it was very important for me to have my time in Mount A. And yeah, and even just like personal style and the music scene when we were there was really cool. You're surrounded by people that are doing just very different people than what I grew up with, and I just loved that. I just loved the the eclectic group of people that went to Mount A. It's a lovely place, and I'm so happy that I got to experience it because it clicked for me very much. So I feel like I came into myself very much when I was in Sackville, and they're very much formative years for me for sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Listen, to wrap it up, I'm going to do a rapid fire round where
Yeah.
I'll mention a word
Okay.
and you can respond with the first word that comes to mind. Are
Okay.
you ready? Okay.
Okay.
Lobster.
Roll.
Jessica.
Cinnamon bun.
Newfoundland.
My mother.
Poutine.
Gravy.
Savory.
Uh, turkey dinner.
Rugby.
Sore knees.
Instagram.
Oh, that one's hard. Instagram. The thing that's coming to my head is evil.
And my last word for you is Ramsey.
Gordon.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes.
Thank you. It's just been a joy, Andy, just to be able to connect with you and hear from your point, your perspective, what it was all like, and we're just so excited for you. And we're all, all Allisonians are kind of watching your career and to have taken off like the way it has. It's just been, we're really proud of you,
Oh,
and we want you to know that. So thank you
thank you
again.
so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And a
I know.
A sincere thank you to the executive producer and director of our podcast, Kay, who is the quadrant intern at the Alumni Engagement Office. A sincere thank you to them, and especially to the fine folks at CHMA FM Radio who have made all of this possible by allowing us to use their facilities here on campus.
Mount Allison strives to be a safe, respectful, and welcoming place for people of all genders, diverse sexualities, gender identities, and gender expressions through education, programming, support, and advocacy. We prioritized upholding, maintaining, and honoring that environment during the creation of this podcast.